Hey, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am your host, the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, and the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight, I've got a really fun episode for you guys. I got my good friend, Kaide Lothbrok, and my other good friend, his manager, Foxy Foxxy, joining me for a conversation. These two have partnered up in the last, I think, 12 months, really, known each other for 20 years, and now Foxy is Kaide's on-screen manager, on-show manager, if you want to call it that. And they've been having a lot of fun and been killing it on the indies over there. So we're going to get into that and much more. But before we go any further, we need to take a quick second to talk about one of our sponsors, and that is Sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS. If you or someone you know is an athlete, you need to go and check out Sleefs. They've got all your athletic wear and gear covered. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, headbands, boots, mouth guards, and they've even got those dirty boxes that you've always heard me raving about. So go and check out Sleeps.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Also, wherever you are finding us, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment, all that good shit. Also, if you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review. It does. It helps with our analytics, and it helps us take the podcast to another level, and it helps bring more amazing conversations to more amazing people like yourselves. So help a brother out and get that shit done. But without further ado, let's get in to my conversation with Kaide Lothbrok and Foxy Foxy. Yeah! What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. Great to see you both.
Hi.
What's going on, my man?
Man, not much. Dude, it has been a long time since I've spoken to both of you guys. And as I said in the intro, I've been really enjoying some of the promos I've been seeing and the photos of you guys working together, because it looks like you guys are having a lot of fun with it. And especially Kaide, I've known you for a couple of years, and I was speaking to you for a while there, and I think that was a while there. I don't want to say that you were burnt out from the business, but you were a little bit frustrated with it to a certain extent. And now it looks like you're really having a lot of fun, with what you're doing out there on the scene.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We all go through those ups and downs, and you get to that certain age, you get to that certain point, and you just something's gotta break, And it was rough, I did the deathmatch stuff, and I kind of was burnt out of that. I wrestled everyone that I wanted to wrestle on a high level. I got to share the ring with, in my opinion, the best guys to do it, and I was just bored. We came back from the pandemic. I changed the name, the gimmick. Everything, my body, everyone knows that's followed me knows the story. And I was just bored. I needed something different to do. And, I hounded Foxy numerous times, and she finally caved. And I'm sure anyone else that's followed us and knows the story, one show turned into every show that I'm on. But yeah, honestly, working with her definitely was, the fresh blood, whatever you want to call it, breath of fresh air in my career, because, I always say it. I don't need anyone besides me to do what I do, but having Foxy there, not even put aside being, the in-ring stuff, just traveling with Foxy and, having someone, because my fiance can't and doesn't always want to do those long car rides. So it's nice to have someone to share the travel with, and not just be stuck in a car by yourself for 5 hours talking to yourself. You go fucking crazy.
100%. And Foxy, like, Kaide saying there, like, hounding you for years to sort of come back. What was the final thing for you that went, I want to come back? Because I know you're a mom, you've got 3 boys. Was it like the kids are all right? The kids are finally getting old enough where it's like mom can sort of like step away from, like, not every weekend, but I'm sure, but maybe
every weekend.
Every
I
weekend.
need to get away.
What? Power to the mums, man. Because like every mum needs time away. But finally, like, your kids getting to that certain age where you could have that opportunity to do that.
I mean, that was part of it, because when they're younger, it's harder. But what really helped was, I did the show with you. I did this show with like Boogaloo and Kaide, and at that point I was writing about like the past with wrestling, and it like really helped me be less bitter about my time in wrestling. Yeah. And I always hated how I ended it, because that wasn't how I wanted to go. And getting back in touch with Kaide helped a lot, because we always stayed friends on Facebook, and I always still followed what he did. But doing the shows with him and Boogie and like just reconnecting again, when he asked that final time to manage him, it was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So, yeah,
I mean, like, because when the time that you were in the business, back then, and I think we covered this in the conversation, we had it with you originally. I think that was like over a year ago we had that podcast.
Yes.
And you said like it was like, hey, that's a mum's life right there. But like, you were saying, like, the time that you were in the business, it was like there were certain things that you had to do, whereas like to get bookings, you had to be a blonde, where it's like, blonde hair might not have actually suited you, but it's like that's what promoters wanted. How do you find now coming in there being, a little bit older than what performers are currently out there on the scene? Do you see that how women are treated in professional wrestling now is a lot differently to how they were treated 20 years ago?
Oh, it's so different. I mean, not only just how the women now are treated versus how, they were back then. It's also, I'm treated differently in general. Like, between my age and my experience and the way I just carry myself is way different. So like, the whole just dynamic of it has changed and evolved. Like years ago, like the character that I'm doing now, and even just how I am ringside, that was not there, and it wouldn't even really been feasible, because even though things I wear are still considered sexy, they're modest in a way. Whereas now I can be who I want to be. I can dress how I want to dress, and it's not going to stop a booking. It's not going to reflect any way on me from a promoter or from another wrestler or from a fan. And it's really just, it's surreal sometimes, because I'm still so in that mindset of I have to look a certain way, and like the body dysmorphia will kick in where it's like I'm not skinny enough, and I have to constantly remind myself, no, it's a different world. It's a totally different world now. It's fine. You don't have to be eye candy. You don't have to be a sex kitten. Just go out there and be you. So
it's interesting, because it's like, we recently saw Mandy Rose getting released from WWE for having like a subscription or paid only site or whatever. And it was like, she made like $1 million in like the month of December. So it's like, her getting released from WWE, she's like, you know what I mean? Like most people would be like, oh my God, my dream's over. But it's like, if you look at it from a financial thing, it's like women now can go and make a living doing that, and don't necessarily have to feel like slut shamed or you know what I mean? Like it's like they can go and do those sort of things and be like feel empowered almost to do that. And I think that's where society's sort of gone to.
Yeah, it's again, it's really, it's surreal, because again, you doing stuff like that back then was expected of you, but in the same right, it's like, oh, it's expected of me, but I'm still gonna be labeled a whore, or I'm gonna be labeled a rat. Whereas now it's like, hey, guess what? I have an OnlyFans, and it's fine. And that's the thing. It's fine. It's the strangest thing.
But I find it interesting is like, and I've said this before, is like I feel like OnlyFans, like as a whole, like I don't hate on anybody who does it because it's
Yeah.
like go make your paper any way it means possible. But like I look at it as like the whole concept of it, I feel like it's almost teaching a generation of young males that affection is almost transactional. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
In some sense, but I think as well, you just us as parents who have young sons and stuff like that, it's our responsibility to really teach them the right ways, but still I
Yes.
feel like that's the way it's sort of leading a generation of young males now.
I mean, my boys are on a whole different level when it comes to like these things. They just don't care. They give them a Lego set and they're fine. But again, when it comes to those things, it is definitely a parental conversation, of boundaries and expectations versus imagination and internet versus reality. And being our age, we gotta teach them a little old school.
But I think that like
That's what I've done.
But that's the difference, right? Like I feel like if you look back at that and it's like when we grew up, there wasn't like iPads or iPhones or fucking MacBooks and shit like there was barely internet around when I was a kid. Like I think it was like
Barely.
late 90s, early 2000s, like we had the fucking dial-up shit. But like
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's like technology is so on hand, and it's like I see with my kids, if they have too much like time on a fucking iPad or a video game or something like that, they go loopy. If they have like over an hour or so at a time afterwards, like they're just feral. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like, because it fries their brain.
No, I agree 100%. Me and my girl started to like an hour and a half, no cell phone, no iPad, no nothing, because my stepkid literally will just sit like with the phone 2 inches from his face for hours at end. And he'll be like, I have a headache. I'm like, dude, well, no wonder why.
Duh,
Phone is like
right?
6 inches, 2 inches from your face, just glaring at you all day. And it's kids, we all, I guess our generation, we had what, video games, and your parents used to yell at you, go outside, and now it's this, and it's just progression. We all deal with it differently. Yeah, you see it even in the wrestling locker rooms. When I was coming up in Foxy, it was a different mentality. And now, a lot of these kids are very, very not brazen, but there's I don't know if it's a training thing. I don't know if it's a generational thing, but there is a definite difference in the terms of respect. What I would say a majority, not like they go out of their way to be disrespectful, but there's this. Like I was taught, you walk in a locker room, you shake everyone's hand. You don't take, if a guy that's been in the business whatever amount of years longer than you, or a guy that's been on TV, or the one of the locker room leaders comes in and they don't have a seat, you offer your seat. Little things like that, where I think a lot of people think, well, it's this trivial, I guess whatever you want to call it, bullying. I don't know. I mean, I think some things are a little ridiculous. Like me personally, if I come in a locker room, or someone comes in the locker room and it's actually get the, hey, how you doing, guys? You don't need to come shake my hand, especially if we work shows every month or I see you multiple times a month. I don't need you to come shake my hand. But I think some little things have gone to the wayside, and maybe it's for the better, and maybe it's not. But I don't know what to blame it on. I would love to be like, oh, it's the lack of training, or it's not good training. But there are guys that I know that were trained by very talented wrestlers and very respected wrestlers, that these guys just get these bad habits, or maybe it's a generational thing where the lack of communication, because everyone can just sit and, text and message each other through a phone without having to have any like physical, communication. And I posted a video, I think like a day or two ago. It was like these two kids were like, say it to my face, you won't call me pussy to my face, these two jacked up guys. And then the guy stepped to him and he started crying. And I know it was like a joke, but I do feel there's some truth to that there's a couple of these kids now that I think a lot of kids haven't gotten their ass beat, and then reality hits them in the face, especially in wrestling. I've seen at Xcite Wrestling, it happened when we were there last time. There was some problems with the younger guys and the older guys. Myself was a part of it, but I was just kind of there as one of the older vets. But they had to put these kids in their place. Nothing horrible, but they got their ass chewed out. And I'm I'm a big believer in that, because I'm also a big believer in everyone gets second or third chances, because you're young, you're dumb, especially in your 20s, dude. You're or even younger, you're gonna fuck up, you're gonna make mistakes. So
I
And that's
think,
where
I mean,
sorry.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but like to add on to that, like I think it's a little bit more too that there's less initiative on other people's parts. Like, yes, you're going to do the training and you're all about making yourself better, and that's great, but there's like no initiative to learn all the little intricacies that go into it. Like you said, like the locker room example stuff. Like there's several people that come in and they don't shake my hand, and I get so heated because they think I'm just some random chick in the locker room. And it's like, look, I might be, but I'm still in the locker room, so you still got to shake my hand, bro. But like, there's little intricacies like that where you're not going to take the initiative to learn, just general locker room etiquette or just show etiquette, or even like
it's really human etiquette, I feel, because
yeah.
it's like when I'm working on shows, I go up to everyone who's around when I get there and I shake their hands, and it's like the guys that are doing the production to whoever it is that are around, because it's like, man, you're there, I'm walking into a place, we're going to be doing something together, we're all involved in something. Hey man, like, I'm not a fucking big, you know what I mean? Like, none of us are fucking big time fucking stars here.
Yeah.
But again, I think that comes with, we're all pretty much in the same age bracket,
Yeah.
And like when I did the AEW extra work a couple months ago, I shook every single person. I don't even know if they worked for AEW, whether it was security of the building or the people that were catering food for us. I think that I mean, that's just how I was told, and that's just me. And then like I saw guys that were under contract that would just literally blew past people that were laying cables or whatever. And again, everyone's different, and it's just what it is. And we could all see, like I said, Foxy gets all twisted up about like she's ready to fucking start decking people, and I things like things get me hot, but at the same time, what are you gonna do at this point? You can't.
Yeah.
The days of
I'm gonna bitch on the internet about it. That's what I'm gonna do.
Go on a podcast with an Australian.
Take
like
my hand.
The problem is if like if someone like Foxy or and I don't know if it really would happen with Foxy, but if someone like me goes and some kid doesn't shake my hand and I blow up on him, then the next thing you know, it's on Twitter, and it just becomes this stupid downward spiral of it's just like, dude, just have. And I think a lot of guys don't understand that it's not about like it's not kissing anyone's ass. It's just about like, yeah, I may never have been signed to TV or whatever it is, but I laid a brick here or there for this pathway for you to also travel on. So it's just that type of thing. And again, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a generational thing or just this weird time, look at just the society around us now, man. Like, people just want to bitch and moan about every single little thing.
No, but I get it too, because like in coming back, and like say for example, when I said to Kaide after the first show, I was like, I want Xcite, and he talked to the promoter and he got me onto Xcite. Before that first show, I looked at the roster. I was like, okay, do I know any of these guys? No, I don't. All right, let's see who these guys are. I checked some of the roster out on Facebook, on Instagram. I checked out if they were on YouTube. I wanted to know who was around. I used to do that back before I even started training with like magazines. I'm looking in the back of the magazines. All right, who's the Jersey indie people? All right, we got Reckless Youth. I got to study his stuff. I need to know who these people are. And that's something I don't even think that's done these days, where it's like, know what you're getting into, know the people on the scene around you. Like, I don't even think that's done. And yet there's more access to this than there was when I first started. Like,
but it's interesting. Like, I got into doing commentary on shows, and one of the things I always make sure that I do is I go and shake everyone's hand, and I'll always say, when you have a minute, I'm going to be on over here at the desk. Can you just come over and give me 5 minutes of your time just so I can get, what I mean? Even if I know the person, but it's like, at least give me a bit of information about this match. If there's history, there's something you want me to do to make it better. And I actually had a veteran say to me, this is so amazing that you do this. I can't remember the last show that I was on where a commentator came up to me and asked me this. And I was just like, really? And it was just like, what I mean? And I've commentated with a lot of different people, and there's like certain levels where I go, okay, this person is really good. They know what they're doing. They do the similar sort of shit that I do to try and get as much info. And then there's some people that are just like green as hell. And then there's other people that are just like, yeah, turn up. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'll just sort of bounce off you. And it's like, man, I think it's like there's some people, I think there's levels to it all over in wrestling. And there's some people that are like the weekend warriors that are just like, yeah, they go out there, they invite their friends and family, their kids, and they get a bit of a pop from them. And then it's like, cool, they go back to their normal 9 to 5. And then there's people where it's like they take it seriously, like this is a career, this is what they want to do, they want to invest in it. You know what I mean? Like I think there's always different levels to it, and I think you definitely see that.
And there's like I used when I was a lot younger in my career, it used to bother me when there was people like that didn't take it as serious as me, and then there are times that it still does get to me, but everyone does this for different reasons. And it is like, don't get me wrong, it is frustrating when you're trying to do something, you have a referee that wants to joke around, or you got commentators that make stupid jokes or make it about them. I mean, we can run down a litany of things. It really does come down to the person. And I'm fortunate, and Foxy's fortunate to where I get to handpick a lot of people I work with in terms of referees. I mean, I haven't had an issue with commentators in a long time. A lot of the commentators at the shows that have commentators, they come up to us, hey, what's the story? What's the info? So, on my end and our end of it, it's definitely gotten better. But listen, I mean, I've done shows, she's done shows.
Yeah.
I've literally why am I here? And again, you take the good with the bad, but you can't, look, it makes me laugh when I go into a locker room and I know where I've gone and traveled and working a lot of weekends and multiple times during the week, and you meet a guy who maybe works 2 shows a month, and he comes in and he acts like he's just gotten off the road of like a 3-month loop, and he's like, oh my god, I'm like, and it makes me laugh because it's like, bro, like, come on, man, and it's
talking like he's just done a massive tour of Japan or some shit,
or you see them and it's like they got to get dressed, and it's unless you're like an old a guy that's been doing it for a long time. But a lot of them are young guys where it's like, again, and it's to each their own, and it's just like, for example, I have a Damien, Foxy's husband, actually said it when he came to Xcite, the rolling bag. Foxy has a rolling bag. I have a rolling bag. That wasn't a thing when Damien was coming up. They were a thing when
it was a side, because they roll sideways now, and he's like, "What the hell is this technology?"
You could roll them back, normally, or turn it sideways. But for me, I remember Whipwreck was like, "You don't get a rolling bag until you earned a rolling bag." Like, it was a rite of passage. Now I don't know if that's a real thing. That's just what I was told. And it could have been a rip, but I took that as something serious. So I didn't get a rolling bag until I was about 6 or 7 years into into doing this. I had a duffel bag, which it's not about to me. And if I saw some kid coming in with a rolling bag, I wouldn't bat an eye at it. But these are these little things that you pick up and you learn. And, it's like I said, it's stupid little intricacies of wrestling that you don't know what's real or fake half the time with some of these things. Sometimes I feel like the more the fake nonsense happens in the back than it does outside in the ring.
Absolutely.
100%. 100%. But you know what? I find it's almost funny where it's like I've been on shows and I see some of the drama or the bullshit or arguments that happen. It's like, oh, blah, 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 and the back and forth. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, going, really? It's fucking wrestling, man.
Look, I mean, that could be passion. That could be numerous amount of things. I mean, there's been plenty of times, and even with me and Foxy working together, there have been times where there are things that were I've even gotten frustrated, and it boils down to the passion that you have for wrestling, or you can just be a complete fucking total jerk off. Like, I've seen plenty of guys that I don't want to lose, I don't want to, and then they find ways to make themselves look. It's wrestling, man. At the end of the day, unless you're gonna get at more money, it don't fucking matter. And no one's getting, no one's making a lot of money, at least on the indies. I mean, there are guys that make a living, but if you're losing or winning, I don't think your paycheck's really changing that much. So I don't know with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you look at the grand scheme of things, it's like some of the best wrestlers in the world have probably lost more matches than they've actually won, really.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. there are ways to protect yourself. There are ways to make sure you don't look stupid. There are ways to make yourself look strong. It's all about how you present yourself and carry yourself. Like, look, I mean, if I went through my win-loss record since me and Foxy when we started working, I think I've lost more than I won. But I don't think anyone's ever sat there and said like, oh, you know. And there's been a few times where I've gone. Xcite Wrestling is one of them where I went to Johnny Moose and I was like, dude, you know, you can only beat me so much. Where, you know, and again, this goes to where I needed to protect my character. It wasn't like anything intentional he was doing. I wasn't being buried, but I was, you know, I think I lost a few matches in a row. And I was like, dude, I got to win at least one or two here and there so people have faith in me.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then, you know, I don't care. I'll lose to anybody. You know, as long as it makes sense, I don't care. Yeah. But if you consistently get beaten, well, eventually, yes, it's fake. Yes, everyone knows it's fake, but
it weighs you down a bit. It makes you sit there and go, why the fuck am I here?
Yeah. Why? Well, not even just well, I'm talking not just from that aspect, but also from the fans aspect.
Yeah, that's what I mean too. Yeah, it's like, I like this guy. Why the fuck am I here? Type of thing.
Like, and then they also like, you know, every time I see so and so, he's losing. You know, I don't. So there's like little things like that. But in terms of like, I mean, I don't really know if we've seen any real drama. Or I don't know. I mean, nothing.
Maybe I don't pay. I balance things where it's like I'm just serious enough and I have fun just enough where it's like it is like not counterproductive. What's the word? It cancels each other out. So like shit could be going down. I'm sitting here like, wow, this is a fun little route they're pulling. When it's like, oh no, they're really gonna kill each other. Like I don't know. I'm just there with my headphones on, like whatever.
Just there with your headphones on.
Yeah, usually.
I've personally, and I mean, any booking that I take, Foxy, you know, vice versa. But I know us ourselves. I've tried to take bookings for companies either that I don't know anything about, and then I go there and then like, okay, well, this place has got drama. I don't want to be back. Or I go to places that I know it's drama free. Or if we do go somewhere new, I've tried to see if I know someone that works there, and I ask, you know, how's the locker room, how's this or that. I'm too old to deal with drama and nonsense. It's a big reason why I moved away from doing a lot of the deathmatch stuff. It's become very dramaful down over here, and it's just I don't need to be in a pissing contest. You know, it's just not what it's not worth my time to go somewhere and be aggravated. You know what I'm saying? And
also put yourself through that as well, bro. Like to go through that punishment, to get cut open, to get fucking, punctured or whatever the fuck. And then it's like to not enjoy it on top of that, bro. Like that just makes it even more.
Like I had a conversation with Masada a day or two ago, and he's trying very adamantly to get me to work for XPW, which I'm completely open to. It's just right place, right time. Actually, they wanted me to go to Rochester on a Thursday, and I was like, that ain't happening because she ain't going to come, and I'm not driving to Rochester, which is like 8 hours on a Thursday. Yeah. But, talking to Masada, and, I look up to Briggs. I think, whatever, Masada. I use his real name. But I look up to him. I love him to death. And, just talking to him, and, there's a lot of new kids, and, and this isn't a sexist thing. This isn't but I watch guys that are 400 pounds or close to it losing to girls that are 110 pounds. And I'm all for the art of wrestling and everything. But when I'm watching a grown man that's, pushing 350, 400, beating a girl with a light tube or putting her through all this crazy stuff, it's hard to extend that that disbelief.
To suspend belief, yeah.
But then it becomes even harder. It's like, fuck, man. And again, I'm all for it. I don't. It's not for me. It's not something that I'm going to be like, ooh, I want to do. It's like, look, XPW's women's champ, Lou Dark Satan, she wants to work with me. I would 100%, I'm open to it, but it'll be done in a way that will make sense. I'm not going to, I'm not knocking anybody, and then there's a lot of, I'm sure you've seen the deathmatch, quote unquote, war between XPW and ICW and all that. It's just a lot of people talking. And it's stupid. I don't know who started what. I know someone took shots at Masada because that was one of the things he mentioned to me about him and his ex-wife. And that's the other thing too with social media. Like there are things that are getting out there that have it's no one's fucking business about what anyone does behind closed doors, unless it's something egregious. Like obviously like what happened with Raver and now getting busted with the drug thing. That's totally different. But if something happens between someone's spouse or what, it's just a lot of fucking shit's getting out there. and it's bleeding over into all of the forms of wrestling. But for some reason, it seems like the deathmatch scene has been getting a lot more of it lately than anything else, and it never used to. It was like the last bit of wrestling where it was like a tight-knit group of guys, and if there was bullshit, it was policed, and now it's just a lot of like, I don't know, man. It's sad, but again, right place, right time for me. I would gladly work for Rob Black and XPW, and you know, I get asked quite often, more than I for certain companies, and it's just not something I'm not looking for that right now. I have my eyes set on other things.
Is deathmatch wrestling something that is, like, again, right place, right time, right dollar amount for you, or is that like you're done with deathmatch? Like, for you don't have a love for that or interest in that anymore?
You know what it is? It's one, you know, tearing back the curtain. My fiance basically asked me, please don't. I think Deranged just put up a GoFundMe because he destroyed his knee or something crazy. The Deranged from Ring of Honor. So this was before that. She asked me because she's seen the damage, and you know, I'm older. I don't heal as fast as I used to. Not that I was like Wolverine or anything, but you know, like when you're younger, you bounce back. You know, you get beat up. The next day, you're going. It's just it's hard. I don't want to say I don't have anything to prove because, you know, in the grand scheme of deathmatch wrestling, I wasn't looked at as anyone of grandiose gesture. I did it. Like I said, I wrestled, you know, Necro Butcher, Masada. I wrestled Danny Havoc. I wrestled Raver, Alex Cologne, Matt. I wrestled the creme de la creme. There's a lot of new kids that I like. A lot of them do want to work. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I'm like, okay, I want to work with these kids, but at the same time, for what end? I watch a lot of these shows, you know, ICW, XPW, not so much GCW anymore, but it's just become over the top to me. And that's coming from a guy that used to do it. Like, it's just smash and crash. And there's a lot of guys that I'm like, there's no wrestling to it. Like, if you watch, like, Drake Younger and Schlack had a great match, but there was wrestling involved. It wasn't just, I'm going to hit you, I'm going to hit you, I'm going to hit you. I feel like it's devolving more, and that's just my opinion. And there's going to be people that are going to watch this and tell me that I'm an asshole and what all this stuff. But also the other big thing of it is I'm trying to move past that because for a long time, that's what I was looked at. You know, I was just the deathmatch guy, the garbage wrestling guy. Obviously, I dropped all the weight. It's a big, and then honestly, getting to go to AEW, having a guy like Homicide message me about sending stuff for him for NWA. That's my goal is to, you know, get somewhere on TV or just prove I'm a better wrestler. I mean, look, we did a show with Tommy Dreamer, and Dreamer pulled us aside and said, we're TV ready. You know, it's stuff, it's stuff like that is where my goal is. And I just want to go over and wrestle the best guys that I can. I don't, you know, if I get to go on, you know, work for NWA or Impact or AEW or WWE or whatever, or Japan, but you know, the deathmatch stuff, right place, right time, and it made sense, and it's something that I really wanted to do. Yeah, but just doing it just to do it, or just doing it because it's another booking, it'd be hard to, unless the money was ridiculous, it'd be hard to get me to do it. And again, it really would depend about the opponent too. You know, there's not a lot of guys that I'd be like, oh yeah, let's go and do it. And it's nothing against any of them. It's just I just don't really have that interest to do it anymore.
It's funny because I watched last night. I was watching this XPW stream that they did, like I think earlier that day.
Yeah,
it was like this fucking death match thing where it was like this
no ring,
the no ring thing, and it was like I watched the first match and I'm like, all right, then I'm watching like it looked cheap, it looked bad, it just. You know,
that's what they asked me to do, and that was in Raw. That's the show they asked me to do. I mean, I think everyone watched it to watch Necro beat the hell out of that kid. I don't know that kid, whatever that kid's name is. Again, if you're a young guy and you're trying to make a name, or if you're a guy that's never gotten the breakout, what do you got to lose?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But for me to leave my house on a Thursday, drive 8 hours, go to Rochester, miss, you know, the next day, it's hard. Listen, it's hard to get me to leave my house on the normal days on book, let alone on a fucking Thursday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And especially like I hate Binghamton's a good 4.5, 5 hours, and fucking another 8 hours to Rochester, 3 hours to Rochester. It's fucking Rochester. And again, I don't know what the money would have been. I'm sure it would have been worth my while, but not enough to make me want to leave on a weekday. And, it's just, again, to the guys that did it, more power to them. And I hope, someone's name comes out of it and they get booked for XPW. I don't know. I've had 2 conversations with Rob Black and then 1 in person. I know he's got a checkered past. He seems like a straight up dude, but I don't know.
One thing about that show I saw, the only match that I really enjoyed was the Colin Delaney match, and I was surprised as fuck to see him there. I was like, man, this guy must have really fallen.
Colin, and I don't know if the other guy, the captain, I don't know if that's what his name went by, but I know he worked the show. He had the bigger beard. He works for Xcite. They helped Rob Black up in the Rochester area. Like, they were a big proponent of helping him and behind the scenes stuff. Look, Colin, he doesn't need to do that. Colin's local. Colin's probably like 40. I think he actually lives in Rochester. Again, they needed guys, and it's a Thursday night. You're not exactly, unless you're going to be paying someone to come up there, you're not really going to have the creme de la creme of guys,
100%.
Especially in a no ring death match. It's not a lot of guys are into that stuff, and I feel like that's even starting to run its course. Like, Casanova created a cool little thing, but I feel like it's starting to become like, okay, I mean, really, for the most part, no one's going to do something insane and take a crazy ass fucking bump. And then the no piece guys kind of elevated that, where guys were taking crazy bumps on solid concrete or whatever that stage was in the floor. And I think it kind of like, all right, this was a cool thing for a couple of years, and now what's next?
It reminds me a lot of like shock rock, like where, someone like Alice Cooper came onto the scene and everyone's like, oh my God, this guy's doing crazy things. Nothing can top it. And then years after the fact, like Marilyn Manson came out and everyone's, oh my God, Marilyn Manson, no one can top this. And then you have someone like Rammstein come on, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, you're at the point now with like shock rock, where like the only thing that could shock somebody, if you like someone like live murders someone on stage. Whereas like shock rock as a music genre has become complacent. Nothing shocking anymore, especially in this day and age, where it's like deathmatch wrestling, again, has fallen into complacency. It's not a showcase. It's not something leading up to it anymore. Same thing with like intergender wrestling. It's complacent. It's common. It's not as surprising and built up as it used to be. So a lot of the stuff, it's hard to top it, and it's hard to make it special and feel special as like fans, and even some of the wrestlers that do it, again, like even Kaide, where it's just like, yeah, it's cool, I get, like, there's nothing that makes that passion for it passionate again.
And the bigger issue for me, that Foxy brought up a good point that completely I overlooked. Like, when I started, when I was in the midst of doing death matches full time and mainly doing them, that's when these shows started of like just every match was a death match. And even if it's like, well, we're just going to use light tubes, or we're just going to use chair, whatever it is, it still becomes like it. Not just
it's a super kick now, in a sense. Like, every match has a super kick. It's like
the fans can only, I mean, like, let's be honest, a human being can only bleed so many different fucking ways. And it becomes like, you get to the point where it's like, what the fuck else can you do? Like, the fans become desensitized to where, even when CCW first started, like, seeing a light bulb getting broken was a big deal. Going through a pane of glass was a big deal. Now it's like, and like I saw,
but even then, back then with CZW, not every
match did it.
Had a death match. Not every match was like this ultra violent shit.
Yeah,
the shit that went viral was the shit that they did, which was, you know what I mean.
And now the viral stuff, like I think it was the kid Slade, and I don't know if he's a kid, but Slade and Hoodfoot, they did like legit, he was stabbing him like with the broken light tube, and it's like, and that's my thing. It's like, all right, this is it's wrestling. Yes, it's very, very, very real because of what weapons and gimmicks and what have you we're using, but you're stabbing somebody. There's no, and it's different with Masada Skewers because yes, there is an element of like, yes, that's really going into your head, but it's not going to do severe damage. And that's crazy to say, and that's probably the deathmatch part of me. But it's not gonna like.
It's not like a shanking. It's not a jailhouse shanking.
You're not gonna put an artery. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
Even going back to like the Raver situation, that wasn't intentional. That was a freak accident. Gage's incident was a freak accident. These guys are now legit It's like I saw Madman Pondo in Tremont. He threw a cinder block at the side of Pondo's head with a light tube. Looks great visually, but how do you there's no protection. And I've done dumb things, and I'm not shitting on it, but looking back, and it's just like, where are you gonna go? ICW, these shows, they're very well received, and everyone loves them. I get it, but you're wrestling in a ring with no ropes, okay, but that's every match. So it becomes essentially, what else can you do? And me looking at it, not knocking anything, but if I was a fan, I'd be like, all right, I mean, how many times are you going to watch the fucking sword swallower swallow the same sword over and over and over? And that's what I think the problem is. And it becomes, like
the crowd becomes desensitized to it.
And it
so
loses.
like
and then you have guys and girls killing themselves and there are some matches that are fucking bangers that get no reaction, or they don't get the reaction they should, because they've watched all this insanity leading up to it, and they're like, all right, cool, what are you gonna do now? You gonna cut your head off? All right, well, I just saw this guy cut his finger off. And I think that's the problem, but that's me, so what do I know anymore?
But it's like with that well, I think it was Carnage Cup last year, or might have been the year before, sorry, where like some dude like chopped the tip of his finger off in the fucking ring in this.
Exactly.
And there's probably like not even 100 people in the crowd. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
And that's, and it's funny because I always would get told by the older guys, you're going to, what I'm saying is what they told me. And now I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're young and you want to make a name for yourself and you want to get out there, you put it on the line. And hopefully you get lucky like I did. I got lucky where it hit and I got to go around and create a buzz for myself. And then there's some guys that it never happens for. And, you just got to do what you got to do and just go out there. And, the benefit that I had was I had a very good wrestling background and training wise. And there's a lot of guys that unfortunately they can't either get out of the bubble of deathmatch wrestling, like a guy like Alex Colon. Alex can wrestle with the best of them. Alex is a hell of a wrestler, but he got stuck in that stigma because that's what was getting him all over the world. And I'm super happy for Alex. I love Alex, but Alex is much, much, much more than just a deathmatch guy. And I hope he gets to show that. Same thing with Masada. When people think of Masada, they think deathmatch, but Masada can out wrestle 90% of the people that are still going today. He was trained with Bryan Danielson. He has the same pedigree.
Well, that's the thing a lot of people don't understand about Masada. He was actually trained by Shawn Michaels. He's, you know what I mean? And also he's a legitimate badass. And I think as well, like when people look at someone like a Masada, they go, oh, just a big dumb rocker, deathmatch wrestler dude. Like I've interviewed him, very intelligent guy, very, very well spoken, and very articulate as well. So like I feel like that's the prime example of don't judge a book by the fucking cover.
Another guy that's, you got Drake Younger, who is, put aside his political opinions and all that, Drake's a hell of a worker. Even you talk to Necro Butcher, Necro ain't exactly going to be listed as like a Ricky Steamboat in terms of wrestling, but you speak to him, he's a smart, well-educated, very articulate person. And, Necro's another guy that wouldn't need to do death matches. Necro's an attraction in his own right. You know what I'm saying?
100%. But I feel like now, like seeing some of the stuff that Necro does, it looks like he's doing more of like the gimmick work and stuff like that and going down that path.
MAGA Butcher, whatever he's called.
But you know what? Like I find that fucking hilarious, and then put him with like Jasmine St. Clair, and like I'm not sure who the other guy is. Like I've only just sort of started.
I think it's look. XPW is as close to what ECW was in terms of touching the nerve. And again, we live in this political times where if you're a MAGA, if you're pro-Trump or whatever, you're labeled all this stuff, and if you're a left wing whatever, it's just. Look, I think it's great. I think MAGA Butcher is with that's his name. I think it's hilarious. He's wearing red, white, and blue Zubaz. And he actually looks like, from watching that thing, he actually looks like he's been hitting the gym. Like he actually looks halfway like he's getting in shape, which is a scary thought for like Necro Butcher to be in shape.
But it's good to see where he came, like how he's bounced back, because he looked like so sick for a while, man. Like I remember, like I think 2019 when he got inducted into the Combat Zone Wrestling Hall of Fame, and he looked like he was like he's like 40, I think he's like 45, 46, something like that. Like he's a few years older than me. And he looked like he was about 70 to 80 years of age, like just hobbling out there. And now seeing him back, he looks so much better.
Yeah, no, it's good to see, you know, like I said, man, good for them all. Dispatch Wrestling, you know, it's thriving. It's out there, you know, and there's a lot of good wrestling out there, you know, it's especially what we're doing. Like Xcite Wrestling is, you know, they're hitting their stride majorly right now. He just opened another location, another school, with HC Loke as the trainer. So I mean,
wow.
Yeah. It's, you know, like it's getting pretty good out here, and it's getting, you know, to the point where guys are going to be able to work a lot more, and there's a lot of good places. And like I said, we're fortunate what we're doing, where everywhere we go, we're treated with respect and we're having fun, and there's no issues. So, like,
you know, as far as you know, Xcite Wrestling, that's Johnny Moose's promotion, right?
Yeah, it's Johnny Moose's. It's all him. There's no partners or anything, and I've been working with Moose, I want to say 2016, I believe. I'm not sure, but I mean, when I started, he was running in like a VFW type hall building, and then he got this spot at a mall, and then it just blew up to where now he's got another mall an hour down the road and another school, and consistently, you know, look, and these aren't major numbers, but he's drawing consistently, I would say, between 225 and 300 every show, which for indie, you know, for an indie show is good, and it packs the building.
Yeah,
and the crowds are engaged. That's the cool thing. You know, like they're engaged into what we're doing, their stories, and there's a mix of, you know, me and Foxy, or myself and Foxy, sorry, or Foxy and I.
Foxy and I.
But we're the only downstate people. You know, she's from Jersey, I'm from, you know, New York, Long Island, and everyone else is upper state New York. So for us, I love it because I get to work with a whole different locker room than I do down here. So, and that's the other thing that I tried very consciously to do, you know, for a while, and Foxy can contest, you could literally work every single fucking weekend in the same building for a different company, but you're wrestling in front of the same crowds, literally in front with the same roster.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. I wanted to wrestle. One, I wanted people, if they wanted to see me, you either have to wait for that show or you got to drive here, there, or wherever. And I wanted to wrestle different guys. You know, I didn't want to be on the same show with, you know, every weekend seeing, you know, Bob, you know, Jim and Harry. So it's nice. And honestly, like Xcite, I think he just got cable TV for the local cable station. He's got the Twitch channel, and he's got, like, in my opinion, he's got some of the best talent. You know, there's a lot of very talented guys up there. That whole area is a very talented area
it's a hotbed right now.
Yeah, it really is. Like, you know, downstate, you know, and even if, you know, South Jersey, you know, like I don't even consider GCW a New Jersey company. So like Xcite is definitely, in my opinion, one of the premier East Coast companies that runs consistently. Like you got Hog, but they're not consistent. I'm trying to think who else. There's not really many companies that are doing what Johnny is doing and drawing the numbers that he's drawing on a monthly basis. And he'll probably be doing 2 shows a month if everything goes the way that it seems to be going. So it's you know, and he lets me and her kind of, you know, do what we want and have fun. So I got nothing but love for Johnny.
Would Game Changer Wrestling, you mentioned them a couple of times, is that a promotion that you would want to work for, or do you have no interest in working for them?
I mean, I'll work for anybody, but it's not something that I don't know what Lauderdale. Honestly, every time I watch GCW or if I do catch a show, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the stories are, what like because it's obviously a very good product, right? And I just don't know what's going on. Like 1 minute you got this feud happening, but then this show, there's no consistency, and I don't know if it's a storyline company or more if it's more of a
like a showcase type thing.
Showcase indie show. Like it's very odd. Like they have very good talent, and they have but he also seems to be focusing a lot on a lot of the younger up and comers. I mean, if Brett called and wants and said, "Hey, I want to use you for this show or that show," of course I'd go. But is it something that I'm like biting? Again, remember I'm 35, Foxy's 41. I'm not really
never give a lady's age away, man.
No, I don't give a shit. It's fine.
Tell you. Well,
it's fine.
The idea of for her being away from her 3 kids and Damien, as much as she'll joke about it, it's hard. And I don't want to be, and as much as I would be like, yeah, I want to get away from my fiance and her stepson, it does weigh on you where it's like, do I really want to chase that especially for an indie show? If it was a local show, absolutely, if he called. But if he was like, hey, if you come to Chicago, it's like, dude, I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. On the off chance that it gets
and it's hard, and that's for the young guys, and that's for the guys that want to get their name out there. And I'm not saying we're anything of big stature, but like I said, my goals are wrestling guys that are going to test me, guys that I want to have good matches with. And also, like I said, having a guy like Homicide reach out to me about NWA, that's the stuff that I'm trying to get towards, but chasing that dream.
I feel like NWA would be a good fit for you. I feel like the package of both of you on NWA.
That's the goal. I mean, my main goal in 2023 is to get her on a plane for the first time. And like, look, man, I get hit up for I got hit up for North Carolina. I gave out the numbers, and if it works, it works. But those days of me, bartering or haggling, like, if you cover this, I just don't have it in me anymore. I have my whole outlook on what I'm doing. I enjoy going to the gym on the weekends and spending 2 hours in the gym more than I enjoy being on the road for 12 hours. It's a different mindset. And if being in the Northeast is where my career ends, it's fine, because that's where it started. And when she's ready to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to end things on her terms, then, I don't know how much, and this isn't like me saying that if she quits, I'm going to quit, but I don't know how much longer I'd be doing it,
Well, I think your life changes and your life evolves as you get older. And I think your mentality of things and your priorities change as you get older as well.
Yeah, of course. Definitely. Like, look, I mean, my big thing right now is I've gone down this rabbit hole of watching strongmen like Eddie Hall and Brian Shaw and Rob Oberist. So like I've gotten very much into the strongman stuff and looking into gyms that do that, and just seeing where my physical capabilities are, and maybe doing a strongman competition locally. But you grow, and like you said, everything's different. And I've been looking more at the end of the road than I am looking at the middle of the road or the beginning. Like I said, I'm 35. I don't want to say a number or like, oh, I'll stop at this age or that age, because you don't know. But I do know it's going to come to an end. It's going to come to the end is closer than than it is the beginning. Yeah.
But also, I think as well, like you're about to get married as well. You're about to start a journey. In a different sort of way. You know what I mean? Like, so there's different things sort of happening for you in your life. Where, as I said before, your priorities of going and driving 12 hours to go do a show on a Saturday, whereas like your soon-to-be wife might want to go and spend a day like here. You know what I mean?
She, and this is not me putting her over. She would never stop me in 100 years. She would never say, "Hey," just like when a lot of people. First off, a lot of people think me and Foxy are a couple, and we're not. She wishes, but obviously I'm sure. No, like
hey, man, if you could land Foxy, you'd be punching, buddy, just like you're punching with your fiance.
Oh, I already am. we get that a lot. Actually, on the car ride home from the last show, someone messaged Victoria thinking that she was Foxy.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance and her husband are, like, obviously they're super cool with us working together. Yeah. But like I said, my fiance would never in a million years, she would never tell me not to go. It's just like you said. It's just, you know, look, man. There are guys that do this at my age and older that I will not name names because I'm not gonna trash anybody because I don't really care anymore. But there are guys that live in basement apartments or don't have, you know, even a roof over their head in terms of they don't have their own home. And it's not a knock on anybody, but I mean, this is my man cave / reptile room / office, whatever you want to call it. I have a house. Foxy's got a home. There are different priorities that I look for, and you know, I'm worried about, and I'm not so much worried about chasing that $100 booking because I get to say I'm a wrestler and I drive 10 hours to wrestle in Kentucky. And I'm not knocking anyone that does it. It's just like you said, there's different priorities in life, and you know,
the starving artist lifestyle doesn't suit you,
dude. Listen, man, I
like,
starved for a long fucking time. And like I said, I got to make a name for myself. I got to go to places I didn't want to. I never thought I would go to. I got to, you know, look, man, I got to get on AEW television. You know, I got to do extra work for them. I got to get in front of Tony Khan. I had a guy like Eddie Kingston run out of the ring and say, "Bro, anything I can do for you, I'll try to." You know, I've, and that to me is the victories. You know, I don't need a piece of paper that says I was a contracted guy. I don't need a lot of people to know. I know the people that know, and that, you know, and again, I keep saying the homicide thing, but for a guy like Homicide to contact me, or a guy like Dreamer, who I tremendously respect, to say that to me and Foxy, those to me are the victories. And if it happens, awesome. But at the end of the day, I still did more than a lot of people, and so did she. And that's you know, I tell young guys all the time, you know, only you can define yourself as a failure. Every single person that's in that crowd wishes they could do what we do. That right there makes you, that right there is a victory. Now, if your goal is to wrestle in the main event of WrestleMania, okay, that's different. But you take the small victories. You know, I learned set the small goals and then go from there. Like, you know, with me and her, I didn't know what was going to come of it. Obviously, it's rocking and rolling. And, you know, if you would have told me a year ago that she's going to be wrestling a match, I would have been like, there's no fucking way. And now
you told me that, I'd have been like, yeah, okay.
And now she's, you know, wrestling a match with a 400-pound fucking guy and a guy at 6'5".
I know, right?
You know, but you know what? It's interesting, and I want to get into that. But like, you know, you mentioned like, you know, your wife sort of never, or your partner never getting in the way, and obviously Damien never getting in your way. And I feel like you got to give a shout out to the real ones, because it's like, you know, when you're in those relationships where like your partner is going, you know what, cool, do you think? Like my wife is the same way. If I get a booking or something happens, like, or it's on a certain day and she understands I got to go, never an ounce of making you feel any guilt towards it. It's like, that's the supportive, and I think the success to a successful relationship. Like I think we're all old enough to have been in those situations where it's like we've been in the toxic shit, where it's like we're made to feel guilty for fucking going and like doing something that we love, or even hanging out with a friend or something like that. So you got to give a shout out to the real ones on that one. But I saw the promo video of like, you know, of Foxy's match, and like Damien was involved. But the thing I popped for the most is like when you came in, Kaide, and you go to Damien, stay out of this, and it's like a husband and wife are having an argument, and you just come in, you stay out of this. This isn't your concern. And I'm like, that made me pop so fucking much.
Well, you know, like Damien, you know, he's retired. As retired as any wrestler can, because no wrestler really retires. They just don't get booked anymore. But you know, Damien, you know, so I have a tremendous amount of respect for Damien. And I know when Foxy got back into wrestling, a lot of people were asking her about Damien, and I drove her up a wall. So
rightfully so, though. Rightfully so, though.
Yes, no, I'm not saying it wasn't right. Yeah. So obviously, when you know,
I think that people asking you consistently about it though takes the like what you're doing away.
Oh, it did.
You know what I mean? Like it takes.
It absolutely did.
You know,
because I had people messaging me on Facebook. I just we just did our first show together, Kaide and I had people messaging me. Oh, that's so. Is your husband coming back? I'm like, gee, thanks. How was your show? Or welcome back. It's like, you know.
And I had the boys. Some of the boys were like, "Oh, is Damien coming back?" And I was like, you know, it wasn't one. I didn't know because I didn't ask, and two, it's not my place. But I know one of the big caveats for her was this was about her this time. Yeah, not that it wasn't before, but obviously being the valet back in the day, it was Damien and Foxy, and obviously it would be Kaide and Foxy. But the way that and I'm not, this is nothing against Damien or in the way that her and Foxy.
No. But that was the time, though.
It was also the time. She was also, a lot younger, and
it was the way that people booked it. It was,
true. But the way we work it is, she, like, for example, I'll pull back the curtain. I really don't care. Like the last match we had with Grizzly, she came up with the idea of wanting to go after him, and me holding her. This is as much as a partnership as anything else. Like, I asked her, what do you want to do? I remember the first couple times I asked her, she looked at me like, what do you mean? Like, she didn't understand, like, because it was different. But as far as I know, it was, like I was saying, it was supposed to be, this is her turn, not that it wasn't before, but this is for her. So when she asked about Damien coming, I was like, really? I'm like, so I thought, I was like, is he coming back? Is he going to come back to wrestle? Like, what do we? And obviously there is a natural story with Damien, myself, and her where it could be working together against each other. He was there. It made sense to have him be part of the promo, even if it leads to nothing and it was a one-off, because Damien very much wants to help everyone in the back. He's a great karate instructor. He's obviously a great dad. He has 3 kids. And he has a lot of knowledge to give, so he's an asset in any locker room. But it made sense in the promo, and legit. I mean, not to to spoil or reveal the magic, but that was a one take deal. Nothing was rehearsed. That was just off the cuff, natural. Like, and when you have chemistry with people like that, like me and her, and even Damien, it got a lot of attention. Apparently, it's got a lot of comments, so it was cool. It
was a lot of fun, and I feel like probably people ask about Damien because he does look like he is in still fantastic shape, that he could return to the ring, right? So.
Yeah,
you never know.
I'm the wife, so I would say yes regardless, but no.
You have to put him over, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't have to. But.
I mean, look, I never got to work Damien, so if that opportunity and that came about, of course I would 100% jump at it. But it's not something, it's not something I'm going to be like, oh, you want to work? You want to work? Like, I asked him, and I asked her, I was like, hey, look, if Damien wants to get on the show, I'm like, tell him to bring his shit. And, myself and Sean Carr, who's Moose's right hand, who's loves Damien, it would have happened. That's no bullshit. Like, it would have happened, but he didn't want to. But in the future, who knows? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there will be a Disturbed Dreams reunion. I have no idea. I don't know if it'll be Disturbed Dreams and Lothbrok. Who knows what really is going to happen in terms of that. I know what we're doing. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. It may be a one-off. It may never happen. But
I think as well, like the fact, like for him to decline that, where I think like every wrestler being offered an opportunity, hey, you want to come and jump back in? It sounds like he's really putting this as like, this is now Foxy's opportunity. This is her thing. I'm just here to support her as my wife, and that to me is a cool thing.
No, he really is, and like I didn't know how that was going to work out when I first started. To be perfectly honest with you, because there was a time where I left wrestling and he continued. Yeah. And it was hard. So I didn't know how that was going to play out in terms of him wanting to return, or even us in our personal life, Yeah. And when everybody else made it about him as opposed to me, yeah, it irked me. And yeah, I let it affect me personally, because like, it was like, wow, you guys forget I did this before I met him, like it wasn't like he was in wrestling and we got together and we're a thing, and like, that's another dynamic that changed too, is when I worked with my husband, we were a duo. It was a team thing. That's what we were trying to portray, what me and Kaide are doing now, but it was everybody else that made it. Foxy's just the manager. She's in the shadow. No, I had ideas. I would throw them out. Nobody wanted to do them. And it just became Foxy's in the back. That's really Damien's wife,
you really want to see her mad? Dude, if one of the boys calls her a valet or whoever, like I've corrected. I'm like, no, it's manager. I'm like, it's not accompanied by, like, if you listen to our ring announcements, it's never accompanied by Foxy. It's managed by Foxy,
or coming to the ring with, like,
it's not that was one thing that she made the conscious. She was like, listen, I don't want to be a valet. I want to be a manager. And people are going to be like, what's the difference? And
I gotta educate.
And in hindsight, it is a very, very, very fine line.
100%.
But if you watch what she does, first off, she's a manager outside of the ring, like literally, like she's the car mom. And you gotta understand, for me, it's myself, Foxy, and then our friend Brooke, who does 90% of the photos of every shows that we go to. And that's the other thing too. Like you were saying, my fiance lets me go and do these shows. You don't understand. Like there are eyes on me 24/7, 365 when I'm on the show. So if I do something stupid, either Foxy or Brooke are going to run back. That text is going to happen. And not to mention that it's also filmed live. Like at Xcite, we did. I took a crazy stupid chair bump. Not only did I get yelled at by this one, then I got yelled at by Brooke, and then my fiance sitting there going, sitting at the merch table, it's grill, So I get it, 3 ways. I
didn't yell. I handed you aspirin and said, "Please don't do that again." That was nice.
I'm
Mama Foxy.
In wrestling, I have my shoot wife, I have my manager wife, and then I have my photo wife. Like,
Hey man, but you're lucky, you got 3 beautiful women looking out for you.
I'm having a blast. Like, Brooke is like my little sister. I literally, there are times where I want to fucking murder her. Foxy's like the older, cooler sister that's like, what the fuck's wrong with you two? Like, literally, it's the car rides are a goddamn debacle. Like, it's just us all it's usually me making fun of Brooke, and then she's getting mad, and Foxy's there, or then we listen to Foxy's horrible music for like hours on end. She knows like every fuck. It's
we're having fun. I've seen a couple of Foxy's playlists, mate. Like, come on, they're not too bad.
We compromise, and I make him listen to like all grunge.
I'm not a new wave grunge fan. I like my metal or I like country. That's it.
I like everything, but
that's divided.
We need a balance. So I make him put on like the 90s grunge station sometimes, most of the time.
You know what? I reckon Kaide is like a closet emo fan.
No, no.
I reckon he's sitting there. He's like, "Where are you?"
No, dude. Like, literally, people. Like, if you looked at my, like, I have a gym playlist, and it's it's Black Label, Motorhead, Slipknot, Amon Amarth. It's all this heavy stuff. And then when I'm driving, it's legitimately like all this country. Like, I'm going to see Aaron Lewis for my birthday. Like, it's either heavy metal or it's country. There's no in between. Like,
I'll make you listen to metalcore the next ride we're together.
And then we do
you might like it.
My gym playlist is ultimately bipolar. Like, I've got stuff there from like Tech 9 to Slipknot to Metallica to like just trying to think, Jimmy Eat World, Great, you know what I mean? Like, just the most ridiculous shit where I've got like all these random songs, because it's like I never sort of went and like went in any form of like genre of music. It was like, if there was a song that I liked and I liked the beat to it or I liked the tune to it, I was like,
well, of course. Yeah, I mean, look, there's songs from bands that I like. Like, I think Candleboxes will come on. I know like 1 or 2 songs. Like, it's just,
you only need to know 1 or 2 songs.
Yeah, Foxy's a connoisseur of music, but she tends to lean down that new metal, Marilyn Manson. Like, my fiance is a huge Korn fan. I can't stand Korn.
What?
I'm not a big Korn fan. I don't hate them, but I'm not a big Korn fan. Listen, man,
Jonathan Davis is our generation's Freddie Mercury.
What?
Now you just started Foxy. I don't need to listen to a song fucking named after nursery rhymes. It annoys me. And we went to my fiance is huge. She's probably gonna kick the door in and like punch me for saying it. We went to see Korn and Stain. Like, I'm a big Aaron Lewis fan. I love Stain and I love Aaron Lewis. Again, it's just not my cup of tea. I don't like Limp Bizkit. I'm another.
Limp Bizkit, I can take it or leave it.
It's just I hate Ghost. I don't understand the appeal of Ghost. I don't understand how anyone likes Ghost.
I love Ghost.
She loves Ghost. There you go. And then our friend Brooke likes
she's pop punk.
I don't even know what she likes to do. Bands I've never heard of.
She's punk pop punk, whatever you want to emo. I don't know.
Have you checked out this band called The Who?
Yes, I love them. Like, one song. I put it on our playlist.
Yeah.
There's the Mongolian metal.
Yes.
Yeah. The throat singing. Singing.
Wolf Totem or something like that is one of
them. Yeah, Wolf Totem. Yeah. One that I can't pronounce because it's in their language, but yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I just like simple old school American metal.
No, you know what? You should check out this one band. I think they're Singaporean, but it's Dur and Grey, and like their film clips that they do and shit are like ridiculous. Like they're close to like a horror film stuff. So, like I can't show you on stream because we'll get like
monetized or whatever.
Like YouTube, yeah. But I'll send you a link.
Yeah,
of,
send
like,
me one.
Yeah,
So,
it's
well,
like
I found out
vile shit.
One of the girl that I go to the gym with, a friend of mine, she's a big Alien Ant Farm fan. She's like a big new wave, and apparently they're really big in Australia. She was telling me, or they're like more. They're more.
I didn't even know they still
Australia
existed.
than they are
Like, I didn't know they were still together. Like,
I know.
besides
Neither did
their
I.
song, like I know like a couple of songs that they did, but like
She was
other
telling me
than
they were bigger in Australia and New Zealand than they are in the States. I didn't even know they were still around.
Me neither.
You wore the
maybe
shirt.
at
What the hell is this?
maybe at the time, but I don't think now.
Dude, I don't know.
Dude, I you know who I'm a fan of? I only know one of their songs, Weezer.
Weezer is one of those bands where you know more songs than you think you know because you don't know the titles of them until you hear them and you're like, oh yeah. That's
Every time I hear like Weezer, I just think of like Spider Nate Webb.
There you go. Yeah. And honestly, sometimes there's music I know, like I'll like a song because it's someone's theme music, but I don't know the band or I don't listen to the band. Like literally, that's what happens. Like there are some songs I have that I'm like, oh, that's so and so's playlist. Like I forget who does it's a cover of one of the Black Sabbath songs. Sean Carr uses it.
Oh, My Curse.
No, not his cousin.
No, yeah. Not My Curse. Holy Diver, the
Holy
Dio.
Diver, but it's a cover by it's not it's
by
a cover
Killswitch
by
Engaged.
Fivefinger or Killswitch.
Killswitch.
Killswitch does the cover. And I don't like Killswitch, but I like that cover.
Yeah.
Well, it's like did you ever see Leo Rush's Black Heart character on the Indies that he did years ago?
Yeah, I worked shows with him.
Yeah, and he came out to like Paint It Black.
Yeah,
but it was like the song, like the cover of that was so fucking dope, and like that entrance as well was so fucking Undertaker-esque. For a guy who's like 5'1", it's just ridiculous.
He's a interesting cat, but like even like HC Low comes out to Hail to the King by I think it's Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah.
Like I don't like Avenged Sevenfold, but I like that song.
That song haunts me. It plays randomly on my Spotify at least twice a week. I'm like, cool.
So there you go. You know,
there you go.
Songs by wrestlers.
But guys, look, thank you. We're just winding it up. It has been an hour and like almost 15 minutes. I definitely think we got to do a part 2 because I feel like this conversation just like flew by so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you want.
Yeah, man, absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Where can everyone get in contact with you? Where can people reach you? Get some merch. Give us those links.
Go ahead, Fox.
Everybody can find me at Viva Foxy Foxy. That's VIVA FOXY FOXXY. Same handle on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. If you find my real profile, don't friend request me because it's going to stay in there until the apocalypse. I don't accept anything. Find me at Foxy Foxy, not my real name. There you go.
And then for myself, obviously, Kaide Lothbrok on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. As far as merchandise, you can message either of us. We have merchandise together. We have merchandise separately for each other. And then also, obviously, at shows. And then also, I'm going to plug my my buddy out in Sweden, who I'm a sponsored athlete, Viking Power brand. Viking Power Building. I'm sorry, Viking Power Building. Dude out in Norway, Sweden, Norway. He's got a whole gym thing. He's the guy that designed the Foxy and Kaide gym stuff. Gives me all my swag. Basically, he's trying to fund it to create gyms. He'll be having a whole bunch of that. There will be a Kaide Lothbrok line of gym stuff. I believe it's the Wolf of Odin, the gym line. So that'll be like my own little gym stuff coming out, which is pretty cool. So definitely check them out. They're on my Instagram and Facebook all the time. And if you follow me on Instagram, just know it's gonna be a lot of gym stuff. So if you don't like it, deal with it. So that's what I do now.
That's it, man. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show. We will do a part 2 very, very soon. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. Make sure that you tap the links down below, like, share, subscribe, tap the links and tap in. Until next time, we'll see you again very soon. Take care. All the best. Peace.